Hey YouTubers, I'm the Tailorette and welcome to my channel, and this is part 2 of making my dirndl. So I went back to the fabric outlet store because I did not like the way that this is draping. It's a little bit too stiff, however I do like the colors. So I did find this, and it's slightly a little bit more green, but it is very close to that color. If I were to walk in the dress, it would start to flow a little nicer, whereas this, it's just stiff. Here I am about to cut out the 3 skirt pieces for the dirndl. And I didn't quite cut out my apron yet, so here I'm trying to get that finished so I don't have to go back to the cutting board later. Okay, so I'm at my serger, and what I'm going to do is before I actually sew my seams, I'm going to serge the edges, and I'll need to change the thread to a gray. So for this part, I will show you how. If you can see, I'm going to press it open and the edges are serged. You can't really see it, which is great because it blends in really well. But when I press it, it makes it all flat. And I'll flip it over and press it from the outside as well, but I want to make sure I steam it. I want to make sure I steam it because that will make it more permanent rather than just using heat. And do that to all the seams that I just did, because I sewed all the panels together into one circular skirt. And flip it to the other side, and there's that seam right there. Press it down, kind of solidifies it from the outside. That's the key to nice clothing, is pressing and making it into one piece. Otherwise you're going to have lumps that look like it's puffing out like that, and that is not professional. And I'm back at the machine because I'm going to do the gathering stitches at the top. I'm not going to do the shirring just because I guess you could just say I'm not in the mood for shirring right now. Okay, so time to attach the other skirt. I'm not going to use this one, so I'm just going to take the bodice off. I have all my gathering stitches around here, so I will start with the front of the bodice. I did change up the pattern a little bit, so there's a lining on the inside, so I'm going to do this a little bit different than the pattern told me to. I'm going to gather them evenly all the way around. And it's now ready to be stitched. I have it all pinned around the edges. And I'm going to serge it, however, I'm not going to clip it. I'm just going to serge the edges and leave the seam allowance a full 1/2 inch to 5/8. So I have the skirt stitched there. As you can see, there is that edge right there. And I'm basically just flipping over this side under. Typically, I would do this on the ironing board, but because the skirt is a lot heavier than the top, all I have to do is pull on the bottom and fold it under and pin it down like this. And I'll basically do that all the way around the bodice edge and then hand stitch it down. So I just hand stitched it closed on the inside, if you can see that. And on the outside, I'm going to give it a once over with the iron just to make sure everything is flat. And since this is a thicker material, I am flattening down these gathers so they don't look as ripply or puffy, so that it looks like it's just laying flat, if that makes sense. Pressing is everything, right? On the mannequin, see how this looks. I haven't hemmed it yet, but you know, there's always that element of you're excited to see it on the mannequin. So that is what it looks like. The skirt is a little bit on the heavy side, but I'm not too upset about that. This is all upholstery fabric, so that's why it's reacting this way. So that's that. And I have to hem it, and then I have to make the undershirt and do some trimmings, and then it'll be done. So for this hem, I plan on doing a blind hem, and the pattern shows to fold it up a lot higher, which normally I would do, but I didn't have enough length, so I'm going to have to do it just slightly a bit shorter, like maybe an inch or so double folded. So for this blind hem, I'm not going all the way through, but basically just grabbing a fiber and going through like that all the way around the hem so it doesn't show on the other side. So now I'm on to the apron part because the skirt is completed, and I'm just breezing over the instructions to see exactly what is going on here. It looks pretty straightforward, so I'm going to whip it up. Looks like I'll just be gathering it, or I could do the shirring. But for this one, just because I want to finish it, I'm going to do the gathering. The next one, I may or may not do the shirring. I'm not sure. So I'm about to hem the bottom of the apron. So I'm actually holding it up to the skirt to see how much I can take it up. And I do want the skirt poking out at the bottom. So I'm thinking I'll probably hem it finished to this line right here. And I'm going to cheat. I'm actually going to stitch it. I don't normally like to do that, but I can always hand stitch it later if I want to. Now it's not exactly 1.25 inches over here like it is over here. It's more like 1 1/8 inches. However, because there are lines and it's a directional fabric, I'm going to just go with using this line as my guide. And now you can see what I mean. The line looks straight, even though on the back it might be like 1/8 inch shorter on this side than it is on that side. One side is a little bit longer, but visually on the other side it looks more even because the stripe is even. So I don't know if you all do this, but I always press my hems from the outside after I stitch it because it makes it flatter and neater. And I kind of pull, just makes it look a little bit more one, like there's no hem there, rather than if there was no pressing. Finding the dots where I'm supposed to pin the apron, because I'm going to start sewing the apron to the waistband. And here are the dots. However, that's really skinny. I think I might spread out the apron a little bit further. I don't know. I might go check on the dress really quick and see what I think. Okay, so when you put this on, well, I guess that's about right. Yeah, if it starts here and starts here. I don't know, I feel like I could go a little bit further out just so it doesn't look so tiny. I don't know. Yeah, I think I might do that just for visual reasons. Ready to stitch this thing together and finish off the apron. And I'm over at the iron, going to flip this over. And I'm totally good with pressing down these gathers because, once again, I don't like lumpy gathers. So I actually will kind of rearrange them in such a way that I will actually, literally on purpose, press them down so that they're not floating on the dress. I'm ready to stitch all of that closed. So here it goes. The apron is finished. All right, now on to the undershirt. Lord knows we can't wear this without an undershirt. So before I decide on how I want the bodice to look, I'm going to stick it underneath and see if I like the shape under the dress. Okay, put this over. I am happy with the overall shape of the bodice, and they will be like elbow sleeves. One thing I'm trying to decide is if I want to do a little collar up here, although this is kind of peasant looking with a historical flair, so I think I'm going to get rid of the collar and just go straight directly down instead of having that, and trimming it with lace instead. Okay, so I'm cutting this corner thing off the edge, and I like how it goes close to the neck and how it comes to a V right here, and there's a little bit of a crossover here. So when I take this bodice off, I'll just mimic this on the other side. And clip all the way up here. So I'm about to start putting the sleeves into the armholes. So I got a little bit excited and I decided to actually try it on. And the under bodice is definitely needs some fitting. It's a little bit bubbly and rippling, but I am really happy with how it looks so far. So once it's all done and I have trim done, I'm not going to sell this thing. I'm actually going to keep this dress. Out of all the dresses I've made, this is the first dress that I plan on keeping. So basically on this next part, I only folded it over 1/4 inch twice and I'm stitching it down. And normally I'd probably do something a little bit nicer around the edge, but because I'm putting lace around the neckline, I'm just going to stitch it and then the lace will cover up the stitching. All right, so the trim part, and this will look perfect, this lace here. There's different kinds of lace trims in here. There's thinner kind, there's a thicker kind. So I guess I will have to decide which one I want to do. So I've decided on this lace. It has a bit of a scallop on the end, and I will go ahead and top stitch that on. I'm contemplating whether I should do a second layer of lace on here. I'm not sure. A bit undecided on that. So basically how I plan on dealing with this, I'm not even going to pin it. I'm just going to start sewing. So I have my guide of the edge of my neckline here, and I'm literally going to start from the bottom, and then I just stitch right along this edge, really close to that edge. So just playing with that lace. I think I like that second layer, so I'm going to tuck it under just a little bit so it looks like it's layered, and then I'll do the same thing to the sleeve on the side at the bottom. So I ended up finishing the bottom of the bodice, but I wasn't super happy with the method that I used. I put elastic in the bottom of the bodice and it didn't turn out so great. So at a later time, I'm going to change that part of it. And that concludes this video. This is the dress. It is finished. However, the next video that is coming out on Tuesday will be about the trim around the neckline. I'll be doing a different technique that I haven't done before, so stay tuned. Like this video and hit the subscribe button, and I will see you all Tuesday.